Good evening. Welcome back. You're on with Cosmo Connect. I'm Carol Bell, your host for the Cosmopolitan Chamber of Commerce Business Forum. Tonight, my guest is Mr. Omar Brown. Omar is Senior MAFBE, coordinator. I don't have my readers on, so forgive me, viewers. Coordinator with UIC Procurement Department. And what we're going to talk about tonight is how to get minority and women businesses involved in the purchasing process at the University of Illinois at Chicago. Thank you for joining us this evening, and welcome to the show, Omar.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, so before we get started, we're going to talk a little bit about Omar, and then we'll talk about what the acronyms mean, MAFBE for UIC. So Omar, tell us a little bit about you and how you got involved in procurement and purchasing.
Definitely. I'm locally raised and educated. I attended Northeastern Illinois University, where I graduated with a Bachelor's of Arts in Political Science. I then went and worked in the HR benefits field for several years as a benefit analyst. I moved forward with my education and received a Master's of Business Administration from Loyola University, after which I worked in public finance for several years at Illinois Housing Development Authority. From there, I moved to the city of Chicago in the Office of Compliance, where I was a senior compliance officer responsible for contract compliance over the Supplier Diversity program, which monitored minority and women-owned businesses. While I was there, I decided to pursue a Master's of Public Policy at Northwestern, which I'm still currently in the program.
Very good.
And then June 2011, University of Illinois at Chicago, they were in the midst of revamping their Supplier Diversity program, and they reached out to me and asked me would I step in and become the program manager for the university.
Very good. Well, Omar, you certainly have done quite a few things. I was wondering how we were going to get to the purchasing and procurement side, because you've kind of covered many different genres there in school and education. But you mentioned Northwestern, which is one of my alums for grad school. I don't know that Northwestern has a diversity program, but I would assume that they do.
They actually do have a diversity program.
And yes. UIC is my undergrad alum, so you're all right with me.
All right.
But it's good to have you on the show, and it's good to find out more about UIC, University of Illinois at Chicago, Minority and Female Business Program, and getting businesses of such involved. The Cosmopolitan Chamber of Commerce has members, obviously, that fall under those categories, and so we're very interested in learning about UIC's program. So let's get started. First of all, let's talk about MAFBE.
Definitely.
What does that acronym stand for, please?
Yeah. The acronym MAFBE, we refer to it as MAFBE, and
Yes.
it stands for Minority and Female-Owned Business Enterprise, and it comes directly from the State of Illinois statute, which is known as the MAFBE Act. And that act declares that it's a public policy that the state will promote and encourage minority and female-owned businesses in its procurement process. And so this act applies to all state agencies and universities. And so that's why we use the acronym MAFBE.
So again, businesses that are that receive service and work from the UIC is receiving state governmental work. Is that the UIC considered governmental work, or is it different?
It is, because it's a public university. We like to consider it university work.
Yeah.
If you did work with a public agency like the Department of Human Services, I guess that's also government work.
Oh, okay.
But anytime that you have a contract or you're producing services for the university, it is considered government and public work.
Okay. So tell us your role as the senior coordinator of MAFBE at UIC.
Definitely. So I am the Supplier Diversity Program Manager. My main responsibilities are to lead the university's initiative to comply with this state MAFBE Act.
Okay.
This includes working with university departments, other colleges, as well as outside vendors and different government agencies. And one of my goals is to increase participation through such initiatives as attending events and conferences, and also reaching out to other universities to create consortiums of supplier diversity programs, as well as collaborations with central management services, the state's central management services, and other government agencies.
So does the university itself entice businesses, diversity businesses, minority and female businesses to come in? And if you do, what methods do you use to initiate those appeals?
So the way we reach out to certified firms is what I call a minority and female-owned state certified firms.
Sure. So, excuse me, so you have to be certified with the state of Illinois in order to bid for the University of Illinois at Chicago's work?
No.
Okay.
In order to be counted as a MAFB firm or a minority and female-owned firm, you do have to be state certified.
Okay.
In order to participate in the university's procurement process, any firm can participate. There are several requirements that we have as a state agency. In general, when participating on university contracts, we like to say there's two different types of contracts. There are contracts above the bid limit. As a state university, we have several limits based on the type of services you provide,
Sure.
whether it's construction, supplies, or professional and artistic services. So if anything above those limits, there are certain requirements. One of which is you have to meet the requirements of the Illinois Secretary of State. Another requirement is you have to be registered with the Illinois State Board of Election. Another requirement is you have to have a current Illinois Department of Human Rights bidder eligibility number. And then the final requirement is you have to submit a completed disclosure. And this is for any firm, whether you're certified or not, just to participate on any contract above the bid limit. Now, contracts below the bid limits, they're actually held at the discretion of the college or the department that's letting the contract.
Oh, wow.
So if it's, for instance, supplies, the bid limit is currently $52,100. If a department needed to procure some paint for a room, you know, they're able to go out and reach out and find a vendor that can provide that service for them. Now, if the department wanted to paint 12 floors or a building, we would have to put out either a bid, we would put out a bid for paint supplies. And at that point, you would have to have those requirements, whether you're certified or not.
Sure. I want to go over those requirements again because if you're over the limit, it seems quite involved. And maybe it's not to the businesses that are out there that are doing business with municipalities or with state or city or county entities. But I want to talk a little bit about those sort of certifications a little later. Let me ask you, UIC has, well, University of Illinois has 3 campuses.
Yes.
And so does the diversity program here at Chicago campus also work for Champaign-Urbana and then Springfield?
Yes. So the University of Illinois does have 3 campuses. The Supplier Diversity program is an overarching program, the MAFB program, as we say. But each campus has its own procurement department, and so each campus is responsible for coordinating minority and female business activities on their respective campus.
And again, to reiterate, when you say overarching, meaning that you can't apply here in Chicago for work in Champaign-Urbana.
Well, when I say overarching, meaning that we follow the same mission statements, we have the same goals. When we report our actual minority spend, we report it all together. So even though we have 3 campuses, we are one university. We follow the same guidelines. We have the same program. One of the things I will say, though, is that so each campus has its own purchasing department, but anything construction related falls under the Office of Capital Programs and Real Estate. And this office is for all 3 campuses. And so they handle construction, whether it's on Champaign-Urbana's campus, Chicago's campus, or Springfield's campus.
If we have any minority businesses or female businesses that are viewing this show tonight, please call us in with your questions about doing business with the University of Illinois at Chicago. The call-in live number is area code 312-738-1060. We're talking with Omar Brown, who is the senior coordinator for the MAFB program with UIC, which is Minority and Female Business Enterprise. Pardon me. Okay, so UIC appears to have this new program, or reacquainting the business world with the program by embracing economic growth with minority businesses and female businesses. Is there a shortfall right now that you have? The reason why there's an outreach to pick up these type of businesses?
So the university, our goals are based upon our state allocation of funds, and each year this information is provided through the state's Central Management Services Business Enterprise Program. The university has reached its goal each year, the last couple of years, but the university feels like we can do better. The idea is that we don't want to just rest on our laurels. We want to keep moving forward each year. And I can tell you the last year we've had thank you, a 50% increase in spend from 2010 to 2011. And so the university would like to keep growing. And when I say university, like I said, all three campuses, we are all focused on increasing our spend.
Do you find the university picks up more minority and female businesses at the below level limit or above limit?
So you're talking above the bid or below the bid?
Yes.
It depends on the type of work. We do have a lot of businesses which participate on our construction projects, which are over the bid limit. A lot of times there's subcontractors on those jobs and they're doing a lot of the work. And so that's above the bid limit. They might not be the prime contractor, but they are participating on the contracts. Below the bid limit, we do have substantial spend with minority and female firms. But above, like I said, below the bid limit, it is at the discretion of the department who is procuring the items. And so one of the things that firms need to do is make sure that they're in contact with university departments and let them know their business capability and the fact that they can provide the same services as other firms.
Now, is there a certain time of the year that's better than the rest of the year? Do you open bids up, or is it based on projects? I mean, certain services I would think would be more utilized during the heavy school semesters than maybe the off semesters. But why don't you tell us the best time for bidding, if there is such a thing?
Well, I would say, as opposed to the best time to participate, the university puts all of its bids online. It's at the state's Illinois Higher Education Procurement Bulletin. And so I can't say that there's one month that's particularly better for bidding than the other. What I will say is that you should always be online and you should be reviewing that site at least weekly to determine whenever the university decides to put out a bid or an RFP.
Okay, let's take a moment and talk about doing business with UIC. I want to show you folks an overhead that points out some of the bullet points of how to bid with UIC contracts. Meet business requirements of Illinois Secretary of State. There's a website listed, www.cyberdriveillinois.com, to learn more about the Secretary of State and the requirements. Register with Illinois State Board of Elections if more than $50,000 in annual business revenue. So to hear more about that or learn more about that, you can log onto the website at www.elections.il.gov, G-O-V. Have current Illinois Department of Human Rights, IDHR, bidder eligibility number. Find out more about the bidder eligibility number, is www.state.il.us/DHR. And then finally, submit complete disclosure forms. Learn more about the disclosure forms, www.procure.state.univ.state.illinois.us. I know that's a lot of information that I just read off, and I can provide you with these log-on addresses again if you want to log on to the Cosmopolitan Chamber's website. We are at www.cosmoconnect.org. So, okay, we were talking about, and I wanted to talk about these requirements because they seem a little involved for a small business. And so we have a revenue level of $50,000, which is sales. That's gross. That's not net profiting, right?
That's not a revenue level. That's actually if you plan on participating on any statewide contracts.
Okay.
If those the sum of those contracts are greater than $50,000, you have to submit this Illinois State Board of Elections.
Oh,
And this
very good.
and
Let's say that one more time, because
Okay.
the question I asked is completely different from that, and that my question was wrong. So you're saying that all the bids that you're applying for, if you will.
if the sum of those bids, and that's not just with the university, that's with any state agency.
Yes.
If the sum of those bids total greater than $50,000, you need to submit an Illinois State Board of Elections
Okay.
with your submission of your bid or RFP. And one of the things we try to suggest is just go register with the Illinois State Board
Sure.
of Elections early. Don't
Yeah.
wait until a bid or RFP comes about, because it could be a bid with University of Illinois, it could be a bid with Northern Illinois.
Sure.
Rather than wait, get it done, have your number ready to go. Because if you do submit a bid or RFP and you don't have the Illinois State Board of Elections, that's the first thing. You're automatically disqualified and your bid will be considered non-responsive.
We talked a little bit about this too before doing the business with UIC, the set-aside program. We talked about the UIC's goals and that you've met your goals and you've increased them by 50%. Is there a, quote, set-aside program?
So UIC is not authorized to have a set-aside program.
Okay.
The authority resides with the Chief Procurement Officer for Higher Education, and any such authority must encompass all small businesses.
Okay.
Instead, we focus on including state-certified firms in all our procurement notices for bid and RFPs.
Sure.
And so just to make sure everyone understands, a set-aside program would be a program where you set aside a certain type of contract or an amount of contract for a certain type of business.
Sure. Without that program, Omar, how is it that UFC can meet their goals to
Well-
target minority and female businesses?
Well, one of the things is we do events like this and we reach out to the community to
Very
let them
good.
know that we are there and we do want to do business with you.
Okay, so when you become a contractor of UIC, or let me digress a bit. How long is the different processes, whether you are a small purchase limit or you're above that limit? How long is the process of going through? So if I came in with the Illinois Board of Elections and I've disclosed that, I've disclosed my form information to procurement for the state, I have my business requirements all in line with the Secretary of State. Now I'm at UFC and I have all these things in front of me. What is UIC's process and how long does that take?
Okay. Depending on if it's a bid or RFP. If it's a bid or RFP, they're both listed on the Illinois Higher Education Procurement Bulletin.
Sure.
There will be a date listed for the bid opening. At the bid opening, all bids will be opened. The lowest responsive bid will be unofficially declared the winner, and then there will be a cursory review of all the documents, and then from that point, the contract would move forward, and then we would start rolling with it.
When you say lowest responsive bid, what does that mean?
Well, the lowest responsive bid, because of being a state university, means that the bidder who submits the lowest price, along with all the other documents and requirements that are necessary.
Okay.
And so someone could possibly submit the lowest price and, only be giving us one widget when we really need 100 widgets.
Sure.
So it's
Sure.
the lowest responsive bid. It's the person who has completed all their documents. They're all accurate. They all provide the information, and their price is the lowest.
Do we have any small businesses or minority businesses or female businesses out there that might have a question about doing business with the University of Illinois at Chicago? Call us in live. The call-in live number is area code 312-738-1060. Omar, tell us, and I'm jumping ahead here, but okay, now I've been certified and I've gotten the lowest responsive bid and I am the winner. How can I expect payment from, I'm a small business, I'm a small female business, minority, so I have double whammy. But my cash flow is tight, and I provided my service, but I need my funds. What's the payment process with UIC?
So the university approves and pays invoices from vendors for goods and service furnished to the university. We comply with what's called the State Prompt Payment Act. And
the state doesn't have a prompt payment act, Omar. I'm sorry, I digress.
So the state does have a prompt payment act.
Okay.
And what the act does is it requires payment within 60 days after a proper invoice or bill is received.
Okay.
And so the university is experiencing no delays with payments, and we pay everyone within the state's prompt payment act.
So now I'm doing business with UIC. I've made, a decent amount of money. Is there a limit to the gross revenue that I can make to stay within the program?
Sure. So UIC, we're not authorized to certify firms as minority and female business enterprises by the state.
Okay.
But the state does have a gross receipts limits for firms to stay certified, and that limit is currently $75 million. It was just adjusted July 1st, 2010. They raised the limit to $75 million from approximately $30 million.
Do you have any business? No, I'm just asking. Wow. So that's a decent limit. That's a decent amount of business to do with the university. If I am certified with another state agency or municipality, is there a reciprocal program?
Okay. So like I said, the university does not certify any entities, but the state's business enterprise program, they do have a reciprocal process for certifications by other organizations. It's known as the Recognition Certification Affidavit, and currently the state accepts certifications from the following organizations: the Illinois Unified Certification Program, Chicago Minority Business Development Council,
very good,
Women Business Development Center, the City of Chicago, Chicago Transit Authority, Metra, Pace, and Cook County. So if you're certified by any of those entities, you can seek a recognition certification affidavit with the state to be certified as a state business.
Very good. That's important to know, because if you've gone through this process, and I just assume I'm reading it. I haven't done it, but it seems rigorous. If you've done it once, it would be helpful,
definitely,
to be accepted by other programs that have the similar type of certification, or the certification requirements, if you will, to do business. UIC is a part of a larger procurement department. The MAFB program is. Why does it find it important to have it, and is it stipulated by the state that UIC must have the program available to small businesses?
Well, so the state does have the MAFB Act, which we spoke on earlier, and it does put a goal. There's a 20% MAFB goal that all state agencies and universities have to comply with, and so it's important to the university because we're within large communities, and we feel like we should be making an impact in those communities. I mean, we're in Springfield, and we're in Champaign-Urbana, and we're in Chicago, and we should be utilizing firms, minority and women-owned firms, in those communities.
And there's so many of them out there in Chicago, Chicagoland area. Does the business have to be located in Chicago to work with University of Illinois at Chicago?
No.
Okay.
It just and to be counted, like I said, in our Supplier Diversity program, you would have to be state certified.
We're learning a lot of great information about doing business with the University of Illinois at Chicago. Omar, we're going to have you back, because there's so many more questions that I have that we didn't get to. But University of Illinois, is a wonderful university. You have an African American chancellor, Paula Allen Maris, which is historical. And so, the university is doing great things right here locally in Chicago, and there are a tremendous amount of minority and female businesses located right here that does provide wonderful services and does great business. So it's great to hear that the program is very alive and viable, and that you do initiate pulling in these type of businesses into the program. So I commend you for that, and I hope that UIC keeps up the great work. And we're going to have you back to make sure that this year you picked up 50% more than you did in 2010.
Definitely.
Okay, thank you for joining us. Before we close, folks, I just want to talk a little bit about the Business Formation Seminar with the Cosmopolitan Chamber of Commerce. First Wednesday of every month. Our next seminar will be November 2nd at the Chamber's office located 203 North Wabash, Suite 518, downtown Chicago. Starts promptly at 6 p.m. until 8 p.m. It's a free business formation seminar. I urge you to attend to find out more information and about who will be presenting at the next seminar. Please contact us at the Chamber at area code 312-499-0611. Thank you for joining us this Tuesday, and I look forward to seeing you next Tuesday. Thank you, Omar.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.